يا نور العين يا طه الزين يا نور العين يا طه الزين اشفع لي غدا عند الله خايف من نيراني يا نور العين يا طه الزين
ونسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد رسوله النبي الأمين المكين الحنين الكريم الرؤوف الرحيم أما بعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dear brothers and sisters, today we are going to have a talk on a very important subject, and that is rational basis of Islamic faith. In this subject, I would try to explain the fact that why Islamic faith is indispensable for us, and what are the rational, intellectual, critical and argumentative basis of Islamic faith for us. First of all, I would like to throw some light on this topic on the basis of the sources of guidance which have been provided by Almighty Allah to the man. So this is our first rational base for Islamic faith. There are four kinds of sources through which a man gets knowledge and guidance in his life. These sources of knowledge and sources of guidance have been ingrained in the nature and in the constitution of the personality of the man. The first source is the guidance through instincts. Second is the guidance through senses. Third is the guidance through intellect. Fourth is the guidance through intuition. These are four human sources which are available to every man. First source, and that is the guidance through instincts. As far as this first source of guidance is concerned, Almighty Allah has created so many creatures in this universe having consciousness, and every conscious creation has been provided with some instinctual equipments in accordance with its own requirement and necessity. So the man, being ashraful makhlukat and being ahsan taqweem, has also the best of the being and the best of the creatures. The man has also been furnished with instinctual equipments, and these are 5 in number. Number 1, eyes to see, ear to hear and listen, nose to smell, tongue to taste, and hands to touch. So eyes, ears, nose, tongue and hands, these are the basic sources through which instinctual guidance is available for the man in his childhood, even during the period of his infancy. And these are known, the functions of these sources are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. This source of guidance through instincts is available to the animals also and birds also. For example, a child of a bird knows during his childhood how to flutter out of the nest, and how to fly in this way. A child of a bird and child of animal knows how to attract its mother in state of hungry and in state of its being thirsty. Nobody has educated it. Nobody has informed him about various norms. But this is known to the child of the bird, the child of the animal, the child of the man. Through instincts, it will cry when the child feels hungry, when a child feels thirsty, it will cry and knows this is the way to attract the mother's attention. So, more or less, many aspects are known to a child through the instincts. But very significant thing is that this source of guidance provide some kind of knowledge to the man in its childhood. But this is not sufficient source of guidance. Everything cannot be perceived and cannot be conceived through this source. Almighty Allah has mentioned the existence of this source in Holy Quran in the words رَبُّنَا الَّذِي أَعْطَى كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلْقَهُ ثُمَّ هَدَى. Our Lord is who has given the creation to everything, has created everything, and then He has provided a specific kind of guidance to everything which is created in this universe. So here is the mentioning of the guidance through instincts. But as I have already explained, although this is one of the sources of guidance in human life, but this is not sufficient. It cannot provide the total required guidance for the life. So Almighty Allah has provided another advanced source of guidance, and that is guidance. First was the guidance through instincts, which I have already mentioned. This is the guidance through senses. Before senses there is an instinct. As I have mentioned, that a bird's child knows how to fly, knows how to cry, knows how to show its state of hungry and thirsty. So this was the source of instinct. And then the advanced source of guidance through senses was provided to him through various sources which have already been explained. This has also been mentioned in Holy Quran in the words قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَكُمْ وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ. Say, it is He who has created you, and then He has given you the source to hear and the source to see, ears and eyes. So this is the second but advanced source of human guidance. Through this source of senses, the man develops its guidance, develops its wisdom, develops its knowledge. But again, this is a limited source of knowledge, because whatsoever is gathered through senses is not the knowledge. It is simply a perception. Eyes can see but cannot understand what is being seen by them. Ears can hear but cannot understand the meanings of its sound. Tongue can taste but cannot understand the reality of the taste. Nose can smell but cannot understand what smell is. Hands can touch but cannot understand what touch is. For example, if there is no intellect, there is no brain, and there is no understanding of a man, and he simply sees, so what would be done? What would be the process? The process is that he will see, and through seeing he will gather a perception, that is idrak, and the perception is transferred to the mind, and mind works as a factory consisting of various faculties and various departments having multifunctional process. So the perception would be transferred to the brain. Ears would hear the sound and would transfer the impact of the sound to the brain. Ears itself cannot differentiate between the pleasantness and unpleasantness of the sound. Hands would touch, but these hands itself are not in a position to decide whether it is soft or hard. All of these things would be transferred to the mind. And then mind as another source of knowledge, another source of guidance, that is the source of intellect, that would work on the perceptions gathered through the senses. So when these perceptions, which have been collected through the senses and have been transformed to the mind and to the brain, so brain works in a coordinated manner and transforms the perception into conception. How the perception is transformed into conception, the brain and mind organizes the informations and perceptions which have been sent to the mind. So the perception, when perception is organized, the organized perception becomes the knowledge. So knowledge comes into existence at the level of mind. Now the man possesses the knowledge. He can differentiate between the colors. This is white, this is black. He can differentiate between the sounds. This is pleasant sound, this is unpleasant sound. He can differentiate between the touch. It is hard, it is soft. He can differentiate between the smell. It is pleasant, it is unpleasant. So all of the perceptions now would achieve the status of conception. But one should be very clear that conception is always blind, without perception. If a man has not seen, mind cannot decide about the difference of the colors. For example, if a man is blind by birth, he has not seen anything in his life, but his source of intellect is functioning very well. Since he has not seen, his senses have not worked, so his mind cannot create the distinction between white and red and green and black. If a man is deaf by birth, he has not heard any sound from the very first day of his birth. Since the impact of sound has not been provided to his mind, so his mind itself would never be in a position to create the distinction between various sounds. So those childs who are deaf by birth, they cannot even speak. Why? Having right function of tongue, they cannot speak, because from where they are going to speak, they are understanding various words, various sounds, various denotions, various pronunciations and various meanings through their ears and through their eyes. When they have not heard any sound, so they cannot pronounce any sound or any word through their tongue. That's why it is said that conception without perception is blind. So intellect cannot work without senses, and senses cannot give us the knowledge without mind. It means that senses are insufficient source of knowledge, and in the same way the mind and intellect of the man and brain, intellect, it also became insufficient because it has to depend completely on senses. These were the three sources which we have discussed. Now in our next episode